It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. Game 2 of the 3-game series with Arizona, and the Dodgers now fully aware that the Giants beat Detroit this afternoon 5-4, so the Dodger lead, at least for the moment, is 1.5 games. The matchups, Hyun-Jin Ryu will be on the mound for the Dodgers. Ryu, a 14-game winner, is also 2-0 against Arizona, and in his last 7 starts, he is 5-1. He'll match up against right-hander Chase Anderson of Arizona. He has a record of 8-6, and he is 1-1. His victory was against Clayton Kershaw when Clayton, remember, gave up 7 runs in less than 2 innings. Another note about Arizona, they've lost 13 out of 17 to the Dodgers, so you can imagine their mood. And they do send another good pitcher to the mound. That's 9 straight starters going to the mound for Arizona have allowed 3 runs or less, and if you were with us yesterday, you saw Nuno battle the Dodgers, and the Dodgers eked out a 2-1 victory. So those are the pregame notes. Stay with us. We'll have a ball game coming up and a whole lot more right after this.
Ice-cold veins and red-hot stuff. That is exactly what Kenley Jansen has done all season long for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And welcome inside Dodger Stadium. I'm Alana Rizzo. Kenley Jansen has picked up his 40th save in 45 chances last night in Game 1 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. In fact, he's just the 4th pitcher in Dodger history to pick up 40 saves in a single season. How does that rate? Let's take a look at our Coors Light cold hard facts. Most saves for the Dodgers in a single year. Look at Eric Gagne 3 times in 2003, 2, and 2004. Todd Worrell back in 1996 picked up 44 saves, and Jeff Shaw in 2001. Kenley Jansen already with 40 saves so far this year. Dodgers have certainly found themselves a bona fide closer. Hyun-Jin Ryu will be the starter for tonight's game, looking to pick up his 15th win already this season. After the break, Vince Scully on the call. Come back.
To you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, another gorgeous summer's evening, and a very important game as the Dodgers run to their positions, spearheaded by Hyun-Jin Ryu, making his way to the mound. For Ryu, you look at his day's rest between starts, and you can figure out where he is. On 4 days, he is 10-8. 6 days, he is 7-3. This will be his 5th day, and he is 11-3. So the Dodgers certainly feel that their future and their present in very good hands. In his last 7 starts, he is 5-1. It's also a very important game for the Dodgers because the Giants have turned up the heat. The Giants defeated the Tigers 5-4 today. They have now won 9 of their last 11. And as far as the Tigers are concerned, you may remember that the Giants have beaten the Tigers 8 of the last 9. That includes the World Series win back in 2012. So it's enough to make Don Mattingly scratch his head as to just when the Giants will cool off. Meanwhile, the Dodgers getting ready, and of course Kirk Gibson is fed up with scratching his head, trying to figure out why his D-backs have not been able to beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers have won 13 of 17 from Arizona. So here's a shaken-up lineup. Ender Inciarte will be in center field. Cliff Pennington, who appeared as a pinch hitter, is at short. Chris Owings, who certainly is a shortstop, is at second base. Mark Trumbo at first because Paul Goldschmidt has been knocked out since the 1st of August. Aaron Hill, basically a second baseman, is playing third. Cody Ross, the veteran, a once-upon-a-time Dodger in right field. Nolan Reimold will be in left. We've never seen him play before. Duffy Gosowicz behind the plate, and Chase Anderson on the mound. So we're about ready. Nice crowd on hand. Beautiful evening. Bright sunset. Splashing light all over the mountains and the right field pavilion and the canopy of blue. So it is a beautiful summer's evening. So Hyun-Jin Ryu ready to work. The one man who doesn't find it so beautiful for the Dodgers will be Matt Kemp and Cody Ross, because they're looking right into the setting sun. And the first pitch to Inciarte in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Ender, E-N-D-E-R is his first name. He's from Maracaibo in Venezuela. Last night he was 0 for 3 with a walk and slaps a line drive into left field for a base hit. So Inciarte against a left-hander, and he and Pennington are the only two who can bat left-handed. Pennington is a switch hitter, and he'll hit right-handed. Here are the Dodgers with the leather. In the outfield, Crawford, Peterson, and Kemp. We'll talk about that. The infield, Uribe, Ramirez, Gordon, Gonzalez, and A.J. Ellis handling Ryu. So a base hit, and now you have a rabbit at first, and you have Pennington at the plate. Inciarte has stolen 14 out of 17. Ryu stares at him, and he goes right away. Hit and run foul ball down the right field line. Out of play, and the count 0-1. So Inciarte at first, Cliff Pennington at the plate. And of course for Arizona, trying desperately to get the drop, to get a lead early. Of course they'd love to do like the Giants did today with 2 out in the first inning. The Giants had 5 straight hits, scored 4, went on to win 5-4. Strike one pitch on the way to Cliff Pennington. Ryu delivers this foul back, and the count 0-2. Pennington, with the nickname Penny, out of Corpus Christi, Texas, went to school at Texas A&M, so he is an Aggie. Pennington's the fellow we've mentioned. His father wrote a book about him called Too Small to Play Ball, and what it does is focus on the mental side. He's 5'10" and weighs about 210. Strike two pitch on the way. Ryu, very deliberate, looking over at first, and decides to go over there. When you know Inciarte has that great record, 14 out of 17, you had better be aware of him at first base. So Ryu working on 5 days rest. His record is 11-3, so we'll see how that holds up tonight. Strike two pitch on the way, slow and foul back. 71-mile-an-hour changeup, and Pennington chips it back to the screen. Hyun-Jin with a record of 14-6. He has beaten Arizona twice without a loss, 3-2 lifetime. And despite the fact he had the problems with the buttocks, the pulled muscle, he pitched very well returning, so that in his last 7 starts, he's 5-1. Ryu is set, looks at Inciarte, comes to the plate. That's popped in the air down the right field line, foul. It will wind up in the stands, and the count 0-2. The Dodgers with a nice crowd again tonight. They're averaging about 46,500, and they will go tonight to 3,300,000. And of course, it's for me the pleasure to express their heartfelt thanks for your allegiance coming to the ball game as Pennington takes strike 3 call. So Pennington, who appeared as a pinch hitter last night and struck out, now in the starting role strikes out, and the batter will be Chris Owings. It's interesting, the combination and the competition amongst Pennington, Owings, and Gregorius. They haven't found a way to get them all in there yet, but they will. Owings from shortstop is playing second. Pennington is playing short. Aaron Hill has moved over to third, so it's a lineup that is shaken up by Kirk Gibson. A change up high and away to Chris Owings. 1 ball and no strikes. And for Didi has a chance to sit down and watch. He was 0 for 2 and drove in the only run last night for Arizona. 1 ball and no strikes the count to Chris Owings out of Charleston, South Carolina. With 2 out, the Dodgers really keeping an eye on Inciarte. They ran him on a hit and run play on the very first pitch. Of course, for the Diamondbacks, they have nothing to lose, which makes them so dangerous. They're 20 games behind the Dodgers. By losing last night, they have their first losing season since 2010. But the point is, they can roll the dice without any problem. The 1-0 pitch is taken off the plate. 2-0 the count to Chris Owings. Chris had a scholarship offered to him, baseball, to go to the University of South Carolina. However, Arizona signed him for almost $1 million, and it's well worth. Fine young player. He was the Coast League Rookie of the Year and the MVP last year. 2-0 pitch on the way, swung on, hit foul outside of third, trickling down the line, and the count 2-1. So the Dodgers have beaten Arizona 13 of 17. San Diego will be in here. They have beaten San Diego 10 of 16, and then, whoops, they'll go to San Francisco, and the Giants have beaten them 7-6. The next pitch at the plate, foul back. Pretty good fastball at 91, and the count 2-2 to young Chris Owings. Chris, right-hand batter, just turned 23, 5'10", about 180. Hitter waiting. Ryu delivers curveball, and that's fouled off. Owings went down, chopped on it, spun it foul off to the left of the plate. Owings last year didn't play much, 20 games with the Diamondbacks, but he impressed. He hit .291. Right now hitting about .275. So Owings waiting. The next pitch is a little low. So Ryu goes 3-2 with 1 out. Inciardi at first. Now they ran him on the very first pitch. Big Trumbo waiting on deck. So we'll see 3-2 and 1 out whether they would run Inciardi now. Ryu take a good long look over at him. Still looking. He goes. Pitch is swung on. Hit in the air to right field. Coming up forward is Kemp. He's got to play it first. The throw in time. Double play. Inciardi running towards second base on the 3-2 pitch, and Matt Kemp makes a fine running catch, and then the hurried throw getting Ender before he could get back. So no runs, 1 hit, nobody left. Take another look at that off balance throw. It was on the money. Good stretch by Gonzalez. Double play, and at the end of half an inning, no score. First inning, no score. Hyun-Jin Ryu made 14 pitches. Got a break on that little fly ball, turned into a double play. Now we'll take a look at the Dodger lineup, trying to get him some runs. They struggled last night and managed to get 2 and won 2-1. D. Gordon, Hanley Ramirez, Adrian Gonzalez, and Matt Kemp, followed by Carl Crawford, Juan Uribe, Jock Peterson in center field, Yasiel Puig not feeling well, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and Ryu on the mound. On the mound for Arizona, Chase Anderson, and he's just finished doing what he always does. He writes his father's initials in the back of the mound. He's from Wichita Falls, Texas, went to school at the University of Oklahoma, an even 6, 185, and he'll be 27 in November. Chase first pitch, fastball for a strike, and the count 0-1. So D. Gordon, after a rest, back in the lineup, hitting .298 against left-handers and .280 against right. Overall average .284. Takes one in on the knuckles, a check swing on a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. If you're coming up to hit against Anderson, fastball, slider, curve, and a change. Right-hander ready, and his 1-1 pitch is swung on, rolled slowly and foul up along first base. And the count now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Couple of baseball notes now about Chase Anderson. Number one, he's been very fortunate. He's fortunate in a sense. He has a number of wins where he pitched either less than 6 innings or allowed 4 or more runs, and his offense got him a victory 3 times. They also give him some runs. Poor Fidel Nuno averages 2 runs a game. Anderson averages 4.5 runs a game. Right-handed delivers. Gordon fights it off, the fastball at 93, and it's still 1 ball and 2 strikes. The field is in complete shade as Nuno looks on, dreaming of getting 4 runs for a game. Remember, he has started 11 games for Arizona and hasn't won any because they don't get him any runs. The 1-2 pitch is fouled away again. Couple of more notes as Nuno looks on, making his own mental notes. Remember last night he gave up a run in the 2nd inning, a home run in the 3rd, and the Dodgers got 1 hit after the home run by Matt Kemp, and he still wound up losing. He's a fine young pitcher. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, and that's fouled back. Gordon had to reach across the plate. Another thing about Anderson, more fly balls than ground balls. Base stealers are successful only in the fact they have stolen 2 out of 3 against him. Chase huffing a little bit. It's warm, 86 degrees. The 1-2 pitch on the way in the dirt, and a 2 ball 2 strike count. Nice pick by Tuffy Gosowicz behind the plate. Tuffy giving Miguel Montero a rest. Montero last night struck out twice, went 0 for 4. Well, they'll try Tuffy Gosowicz. 2 balls and 2 strikes to D. Gordon. Anderson's pitch pulled back at first and down the line, and a rabbit is loose. Gordon is on his way into second, and he will hold up with a double. So for D. Gordon, his 19th double. Remember, he has 12 triples, and the Dodgers have their spearhead man in scoring position with nobody out. Just did get it over the bag and down the line, away from the diving Trumbo. And as soon as he left, you know Gordon was thinking maybe 3. Then when he saw exactly where Cody Ross was, he slowed up. I'll settle for 2. So Gordon a double, and now Ramirez, Gonzalez, and Kemp trying to pick him up. No reason to remind the Dodgers last night they had 3 hits in the 1st inning, plus a hit batter, and still failed to score. So here's Hanley. Gordon with Pennington riding his back as he takes his lead. And the first pitch, breaking ball on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. We were talking about the fact that Anderson gets more runs than Nuno. If the Diamondbacks score 3 runs or more, his record is 8-2. Chase at the belt. Now the strike 1 pitch coming up. Pickoff play, high throw to Pennington. No tag. So Gordon at second base. Bottom of the 1st inning, no score. Dodgers no doubt propelled a little more tonight to get off on the right foot, knowing that the Giants have already won. Giants with 2 out in the 1st inning had 5 hits for 4 runs against David Price. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way to Hanley Ramirez, and it's a slow curveball that stayed up. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Giants also survived 2 home runs from Miguel Cabrera, home run by Victor Martinez, and then, as it seems almost all the time, Buster Posey hit a home run, and Dodgers saw that the Giants had won it 5-4. 1 ball and 1 strike to Hanley. Anderson ready. Right-handed delivers. Fastball jammed him and it's popped up. Mark Trumbo, the first baseman, waiting and makes the catch. Gordon nowhere to go as Hanley Ramirez just could not get around on a good fastball. He was jammed and popped it up. So Hanley back to the dugout, 1 down, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Adrian Gonzalez hitting .305 against right-handers. 18 of his home runs have been hit against right-handers. He has struggled against lefties, hitting only .200, and wearing out Arizona, hitting .411, 4 home runs, and 17 RBIs in the 17 games. So it's Gonzalez now, and the Dodgers look to him as they've been looking at him and to him all year. Anderson, a high set up around the collarbone. Now the pitch, swung on, a high drive into deep right field. She is away out and gone, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. Adrian Gonzalez continues to wear out the Diamondbacks. For Anderson, that would be the 15th home run that he has allowed. For Adrian Gonzalez, having a big year, 20 home runs. And the Dodgers wait for him. They'll turn on the bubble machine, and we'll see that little victory dance as they pound him all over. There they go. And the bubbles come out, and the Dodgers lead 2-0 just like that. So Adrian leads the way, and the batter now is Matt Kemp, who homered last night. His home run was the difference, and the first pitch golfed at and fouled away. Last night, Matt Kemp came up in the 3rd inning, and as a right-handed batter showed his power by hitting one into the visiting bullpen in right field, and he got the bubble dance. Now Matt waiting. 18 home runs, 67 runs batted in, slaps one over the leaping Owings into right center. Inciarte with a very good arm comes up with it, and Matt will hold with a single. So the Dodgers trying to punish Anderson here in the 1st inning. They've had a single, a double, and a home run, and the batter will be Carl Crawford. Coming into the game, right-handers surprisingly were hitting .315 against Anderson with 9 home runs. Left-handers like Adrian Gonzalez were hitting .201 against him in 5 home runs. And instead, Adrian ruins all of that with a home run with a man aboard, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. So Kemp at first. Here is Crawford. Anderson hands it his sides, now out of his stretch. Hill comes up on the grass at 3rd, throw to 1st, and Kemp back to the bag. Matt Kemp, as you know, runs well. He has stolen 8 out of 13. And of course, Crawford runs exceptionally well. He's stolen 22 out of 27. So we'll see what they do with the speed. Carl ready, swings, hits it foul down the line out of play. Crawford hitting .425 recently. He has really been on a tear. Of course, talking about Matt Kemp getting that base hit. Kemp now has a 12-game hitting streak, and he's hitting better than .364. The last 3 weeks, Crawford batting .403. 0-1 the count. Anderson set, ready, comes to his hitter, high and tight, right at the point of the right shoulder, and Crawford just did get out of the way. Anderson has hit only 2 batters this year. That fastball just got away. So the Dodgers jump out in front, 2-0. 1 ball, 1 strike count on Crawford. Kemp at first, held on by Trumbo. And the next pitch, Crawford looks and is low, and that makes it 2 balls and 1 strike. The plate umpire, Pat Holberg, young umpire. Holberg coming up from the minors to get the experience. Born in September. Holberg, 27 years old, making 28. Here comes the 2-1 pitch on the way. Swung on, reached for, hit foul, and it will carry back into the stands out of play. 2-2 the count. So Carl Crawford trying to keep it going. In last Sunday's game against the Rockies, Anderson earned a win, allowed 1 run over 6 innings and struck out 8. So the right-hander looks down the barrel to get a sign. Now set. Kemp off the bag, does not go. Crawford lays off a pitch out of the zone. Fastball high and away, and the count 3-2. Well, you look at Crawford and his speed, and you look at his strikeouts. He has only struck out a few times, 48 times. So they might very well be running Matt Kemp. Anderson set, looking over his shoulder. There goes Kemp. Pitch is line to right. Ross is going to have a play. Kemp is on his way to third, and Ross just comes jogging in. I guess Matt was completely conned at second base. We'd have to take a look. Either that or he forgot how many outs there were. One way or another, he's embarrassed. Adrian Gonzalez was not embarrassed, however. He hammers one into the right field pavilion with Gordon aboard, and in the blink of an eye at the end of an inning, 2-0 Dodgers. '20th home run. He now has 94 runs batted in, and the Dodgers take a 2-0 lead into the second inning. Mark Trumbo, Aaron Hill, and Cody Ross coming up in the second against Hyun-Jin Ryu. And first pitch to Trumbo off the plate, ball 1. Mark last night was allowed to hit 3-0, fly deep to center, then doubled, flied to left, and popped up, so he went 1 for 4. He has to provide the power without Paul Goldschmidt. Sprays one down the right field line in the corner, fair ball, rattling around, and big Mark Trumbo into second base with a stand-up double. For Trumbo, remember he's been banged up, so he's only played 69 games. He has 12 doubles, a triple, and 8 home runs. So they lost Trumbo, then they lose Goldschmidt, and they get Trumbo back. But once they lost Goldschmidt August 1st, that's when Arizona really hit the skids. They've lost 13 of their last 19, and over that stretch, without the big gun, Arizona hitting just .219 as a team. So Trumbo at second. Veteran second baseman Aaron Hill looks at a pitch for a strike. 0-1 to Aaron. Hill, one of those fellas who not only hit for the cycle once, he hit for the cycle twice in the same year. And he's worn the Dodgers out. Right-hand batter swings, hits one in the air down the left field line. Crawford racing over, but it's going to go into the stands, and the count 0-2. So Aaron Hill trying to get Trumbo home. Hill at the plate waiting for Ryu as a new ball. 2-0 Dodgers, top of the second inning. Now the strike 2 pitch at his feet, blocked nicely by A.J. Ellis, and the count 1-2 to Aaron Hill. Hill went to school at LSU, but he's from Visalia and makes his home in Scottsdale. As a kid growing up, he spent a lot of time going to the Visalia Oaks baseball games in the California League. Try and get as many autographs as he could. Swings, bangs one to right on a hop in front of Kemp. Trumbo holds up, then goes on over to third. So Ryu gave up a base hit in the first inning, got away with it when Owings left on that blooper, and it was turned into a double play. Now a double by Trumbo, a base hit by Hill. D-backs at first and third. Trumbo wasn't sure. He had to wait. Then when he realized the ball dropped, Sherlock said, "That's enough. Stop at third." So first and third, nobody out. A fragile 2-0 lead. And a veteran player and a former Dodger, Cody Ross, coming up. Cody Ross, who played for the Dodgers back in 2005 and part of 6, appeared as a pinch hitter last night and flied to center. Cody takes low, ball 1-0. Cody Ross has had a lot of problems, a dislocated hip last year and again this year, but he is one tough hombre. He's only 5'9", 200-pounder, been playing professionally since he signed with the Tiger organization in 1999. Ryu in a little trouble here, and the 1-0 pitch, Cody golfs at it, fouls it back. He's hit safely in 6 of his last 9. Came off the DL September 1. That's when he had a left calf strain. Earlier the year, he had that dislocated right hip, which he also dislocated last year while running to first base. 1-1 the count. First and third, nobody out. Second inning, Ryu ready, comes back to Ross, who swings and doesn't get it. 1-2. His father was a tough nut, underwent 5 knee surgeries. His dad played football at the University of New Mexico. He was in the rodeo, and Ross, with the dislocated hips, just keeps ripping back. Cody, growing up, if you asked him what you wanted to be, he wanted to be the rodeo clown who's chased by the Brahma bull. He fouls another pitch away. You remember how he would get inside the rubber barrel, and the Brahma bull would just bully that thing. And Cody actually wanted to do that. And then later on, as he got older, and can we say wiser, he opted to go into baseball. 1-2 to Cody Ross. Alan Trammell summed him up once. Says Cody does a lot of things good, nothing great. And he takes high, 2-2. He's got some extra base power. He's had as many as 37 doubles with the Marlins. He's had as many as 24 home runs. So he can surprise. Cody Ross. Right-hand batter waiting, 2-2. Trumbo at third, Hill at first. Nobody out. Cody takes high, and that runs the count to 3-2. So Rio's gone 3-2 a little bit more than he would like. He's made a dozen pitches here in the second inning. That gives him a total of 26 pitches so far in the game. Anderson made 20 pitches in the first inning. So 3-2. We'll see about Hill. Aaron Hill has only 2 stolen bases. He is not going on ball 4. And there is Ryu all of a sudden, surrounded by alligators. Bases loaded, nobody out. And a fellow we've never seen before, Nolan Reimold, coming up. Well, Reimold, who just joined the ball club, he was actually claimed off waivers from the Blue Jays. He began the year with the Orioles, and he had a herniated disc in his neck. And he was claimed on waivers, and now here he is with Arizona. So Nolan waiting. And the first pitch from Ryu, big slow curveball, but he misses up with it. 1 ball and no strikes. Nolan Reimold, R-E-I-M-O-L-D. Right-hand hitter waiting, and the 1-0 pitch on the way. Fastball swung on and missed, and the count 1-1. Reimold hit .212 in the American League. Baltimore, then Toronto. Coming over here, he has a home run and 2 RBIs. Reimold had a pinch hit home run against the Rockies on August 31st. Hits 1 foul off first, well out of play. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. His home run against Jorge De La Rosa. So Nolan Reimold checking in at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Bases loaded. Nobody out. Second inning. Dodgers lead 2-0, but Ryu pretty shaky. And the 1-2 pitch ready. Ryu delivers. Fastball foul back. Tried to sneak that thing in there at 90. And Reimold was ready for it. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. A double by Gordon, home run by Gonzalez. And now 2 hits and a walk in the second inning. And the bases loaded for Arizona. 1-2 to Nolan Reimold with Tuffy Gosowich on deck. Fastball shoots low and inside. Ryu trying to hit the corner, couldn't do it. For Arizona, against left-hand starting pitchers, on the road they're a break-even 7-7. At home they're 8-13. All right, Ryu starting to run out of pitches. 2-2 the count. Bases loaded, nobody out. Trumbo at third, Hill at second, Ross at first, Reimold at the plate. Right-hand hitter waiting. Ryu set at the belt. Now delivers, and it's a breaking ball. Check swing, no swing, says Scott Barry. And the count 3-2. Three balls and 2 strikes. So Nolan goes right to the wire. Trumbo, Hill, and Ross all out there. Dodger 2-0 lead, in jeopardy for sure. Ryu delivers. Fastball, strike 3 called at the knees. So Nolan Reimold caught looking. Second strikeout for Hyun-Jin, but what a time to get it. So that's 1 out. And Tuffy Gosowich, the backup catcher to Miguel Montero, will be coming up. So Reimold is caught looking. Down he goes. 1 out, bases loaded. And Gosowich now checking in. Tuffy Gosowich from Scottsdale, that's where he was born, still lives there, went to school at Arizona State. The Phillies originally drafted him in 2005. Hard-working catcher, hitting .218. 1 home run, 6 runs batted in. Ryu still has a ways to go. Anderson, the pitcher, on deck. And the first pitch to Gosowich, that's in there for a strike. 0-1. Tuffy has gotten on base 9 of his last 12 starts on the road. He was with Arizona briefly last year, only appeared in 14 games. Strike 1 pitch to the right-hand batter. Swung on, line to left. Crawford comes up, makes a sliding catch. Trumbo and the other 2 have to hold on. Carl Crawford. A sliding catch of what might have been a base hit, a sinking line drive. The runners all started to move on contact, and then when they saw that Crawford made the catch, they all had to retreat. So 1 minute the D-backs had the bases loaded and nobody out. The bases are still loaded with 2 out, and Chase Anderson coming up. Anderson has 1 hit in 30 at-bats. So Chase checking in. So Trumbo holding at third. Hill is still at second. Ross is at first. And 2 out with the Dodgers leading 2-0. All right, Ryu at the belt. Hunjin delivers. Fastball high. Ball 1. Going nice and easy. He hit 94 on the gun. For Anderson, he's had about 35 at-bats or plate appearances. He has struck out a third of the time, so he can be a little dangerous if he makes contact. The 1-0 pitch is taken for a strike, 1-1. Ryu appears to go another notch higher when the bases are loaded. The opposition is hitting 167 against him with no home runs when there's standing room only out there. And that's why we have Trumbo, Hill, and Ross. The next one in for a strike. And the crowd 1 and 2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ryu now can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Trumbo very short lead at third. Hill away from second. Ross at first. Here comes the pitch. Swung on and missed, and they're out of the inning. So the D-backs with the bases loaded and nobody out fail to score. No runs, 2 hits, 3 left. Big play by Crawford in left. Big pitch by Ryu. The end of an inning and a half. 2-0 Dodgers. Dodgers hold on to a fragile 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the second inning. You know, back in 1938, Babe Ruth was the first base coach for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Well, Tuesday at 7:10, the first 50,000 fans in attendance will take home a Dodger Bob Ruth bobblehead presented by Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Tough inning for Hunjin Ryu. He made 26 pitches, but he fought his way out of the jam. Dodgers holding on to a 2-0 lead, and they'll have Uribe, Peterson, and Ellis coming up. Chase Anderson, over the year, has had trouble with the leadoff hitter of an inning. When the game started, Gordon led off and doubled. Uribe promptly hits a high pop fly, shallow left. Pennington out, Reimold in, and Reimold makes the catch. So Uribe pops out, shallow left field, one down. We mentioned earlier, Anderson is tough to run on. They've only tried 3 times, and the opposition has stolen 2 out of 3. And in looking at how he has progressed this year, first time through a lineup, opposition hitting .228 with 3 home runs. Second time, opposition hitting .282, 7 home runs. Third time in the lineup, .307 and 4 home runs. So he's still in the first time. He's already given up the home run and 2 runs. And the batter now is Jock Peterson. He has a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. Yeah, Yasiel Puig had something bothering him, and they decided to play Peterson. Young Jock waits, and the strike 1 pitch, fastball low. To quote Don Mattingly, he said, more than anything, something's going on with Puig's stomach today. Not about the way he's playing. He's getting an IV. We'll see where he's at game time as far as his availability. So he is dressed and in the dugout. Peterson way out in front of a changeup. 1-2 the count. So Anderson makes a very good pitch, off speed. Jock way out in front. And the 1-2 pitch. So he's really going to school. Looking at a 3-2 fastball. He got a curveball to strike him out his first at bat. Now he goes after another change and loses his bat. So first day of class, and Jock is finding it a very difficult lesson. Meanwhile, Miguel Montero retrieves the bat, and we'll see that should eventually wind its way back into the Dodger dugout. So Peterson strikes out, 2 down. Boy, it is a long way from Albuquerque to Los Angeles, and we are not talking mileage. Peterson now has had 10 at-bats, and he has struck out 6 times. Now with 2 out, A.J. Ellis takes a pitch up around the eyes. Ball 1. 1-0. Dodgers doing a great number on the West. They are 38-21 against the Western Division. The only team in the West to give them a bad time would be the Giants, of course, who have beaten them 7 of 13. The Giants winning again today, so they are really a high-flying ball club right now. And for Buster Posey, he's unbelievable. The pitch to A.J. missing for ball 3. Buster Posey, who hit a home run today, over the last 15 games is hitting .508. The 3-0 pitch in there. What does that translate? 33 base hits in 65 at-bats, including today's home run. He is 7 with 21 runs batted in. 3-1 pitch, a strike. Dodgers hoping that things will turn to a natural flow and that Posey will cool off by the time they see him in San Francisco. Don't bet on it. 3-2 the count to A.J. Anderson rocks and turns, right-hander deals, and it's fouled away. So Hyun-Jin Ryu pitching tonight. Zach Greinke was moved to pitch tomorrow. And how it works out when the Dodgers are in San Francisco in those 3 big games, they won't have 2 left-handers back to back. 3-2 pitch coming up, and it's taken. Strike 3 called, and A.J. was on his way to first base. So Ellis is called out on strikes. Second strikeout for Anderson, and at the end of 2, Dodgers 2, Arizona nothing. Dodger Stadium. Dodgers take a 2-0 lead. The D-backs will start off with Inciarte, then Pennington and Owings. Inciarte led off the ball game with a single to left field and was doubled up on a little fly ball to right. Good running catch by Matt Kemp, who doubled him up before he could get back. Dodgers got 2 in the bottom half. Gordon doubled and Gonzalez homered, and that's it. You're caught up. By the way, I have great respect and admiration for Nancy B. And far be it from me to second guess that delightful personality. But of all the songs in the entire history of music, she played the worst song ever, Don't Rain on My Parade. Nancy B. There's a bunt by Inciarte, picked up by Uribe to throw him out. And just like that, one away. Nancy B., the one thing we need desperately is rain. Rain, rain. So please don't play Don't Rain on My Parade. Although I'll tell you what you could do. Maybe next inning you'd play Singing in the Rain. That would be nice. Thanks, Dance. Anyway, 1 out here in the 3rd inning. And the batter will be Cliff Pennington. While we're on the subject of rain, something we need desperately. You know, the Dodgers, since 1958, have been rained out only 17 times. Rather remarkable. September the 10th, they were rained out, 10th and the 11th. They were rained out on September the 5th. And the latest or last rain we've had was 1986, September the 24th, against San Diego. So we just don't get rain, and we need it for about 1,000 different reasons. Strike 2 pitch to Pennington, swung on, grounded foul. I was wondering with my wife, Sandy and I were talking about rain, and did it ever rain out a game in September? And there you can see a couple of times. My all-time favorite song, Singing in the Rain, and boy would I sing if it rained. The pitch to Pennington is high. Hyun-Jin made 40 pitches in the first 2 innings and got out of a tough scrape. Bases loaded, nobody out, and he survived it without giving up a run. The next pitch coming up, swung on and missed, and that'll do it to Pennington. That would be the 4th strikeout for the pitcher Ryu. Dodgers have been blessed with some strong arms on the staff. Clayton Kershaw with 17 wins, Hyun-Jin Ryu with 14, Greinke 13, and Herron 12. First time since the familiar names of years ago, Hershiser, Royce, Valenzuela, and Welch. However, it was 1985, and as they say on Broadway, how'd you come out? And in case you don't remember, despite those great arms, the Dodgers knocked out in 1985. Jack Clark's home run, Tom Niedenfuer. Enough said. 1 ball and no strikes to Chris Owings. Ryu waiting, and then Owings backs out. 2 out, top of the 3rd. 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Ryu comes back, works it a little low. 2 balls and no strikes to Owings. Hit that fly ball to right field. Kemp ran it down and was able to double up Inciarte. 2-0 pitch on the way. Fastball hit down the right field line, foul. Slicing as she goes back into the stands. Nice crowd on hand tonight. Beautiful summer's evening. In fact, when the game started, 86 degrees. The sun has set outside the stadium, although you can see a lot of light coming in between the gaps in the upper deck. The lights are on, and they are now starting to take effect. It's straight up 7 o'clock, according to the scoreboard. Pitch at the plate is fouled back. So Owings hanging in there. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Zach Greinke tomorrow against Trevor Cahill. So Zach making his notes. He'll be out in the spotlight and in the heat tomorrow. Two and two the count. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Ryu works it high and away. Ball 3, 3-2. Greinke, by the way, last time he faced Arizona, won 7-0. He's 4-3 in his career. And Mark Trumbo waits on plate. 3-2 is swung on. Chopper to short. Backhanded by Ramirez. Cranks it up and throws him out. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Hyun-Jin Ryu. So at the end of 2.5 innings, the Dodgers, thanks to an Adrian Gonzalez home run, leading Arizona 2-0. Bottom of the third inning, 2-0 Dodgers. And in the bottom of the third, it'll be Ryu, Gordon, and Ramirez. By the way, we want to congratulate all the ladies, including our daughter Erin, all our ladies up in Santa Barbara who went on a 26-mile walk today to help against breast cancer. The Avon mark, 26 miles. And the first pitch now to Hyun-Jin Ryu, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. 2 runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for the D-backs. Next pitch swung on, foul back, and the count 0-2. Ryu has enough talent with the bat to have 7 hits, 2 runs batted in. Strikes out about a third of the time. Anderson ready in the strike 2 pitch. Hyun-Jin takes on a check swing. No swing, says Scott Barry. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Greinke and Cahill tomorrow. Then the Padres in for 3, and then the collision next weekend in San Francisco. Anderson turns on the rubber. Right-handed fastball high and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Chase Anderson trying to get the D-backs a win out of Wichita Falls, Texas. 2-2 pitch swung on and missed. Big swing. Ryu almost fell down and 1 away. So Ryu runs back to the dugout as if he had done something wrong. 3 consecutive strikeouts now for Anderson. And with 1 out, D. Gordon, who started Anderson's troubles with a double inside first and down the right field line in the first inning, and rode home on a 1-out home run by Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian sitting alongside Matt Kemp, and a big slow curveball drops in nicely for a strike. Third time we've seen Craig. He is 1-1 against the Dodgers. The one he won was memorable, certainly for him, and thoroughly forgettable for Clayton Kershaw. Strike 1 pitch inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. That was the game when Clayton Kershaw shocked everybody and showed that he's human sometimes, when he went less than 2 innings and gave up 7 runs. Big swing and a miss by D. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Gordon doubles, brings home a run. Dodgers lead 2-0, and we're in the bottom of the 3rd. The 1-2 pitch on the way, poked on the ground in the hole. Backhanded by Pennington. The throw on a bounce, and Gordon beats it. And besides, Trumbo had to come off the bag to take the throw. So it's a 1-out single for Gordon, and might be another headache for Chase Anderson. So D is 2 for 2. Pennington, everything he tried to do, but it wasn't going to work. Dodgers 2 runs. That will be their 4th hit. And the batter is Hanley Ramirez. So Gordon, who did not try to steal in the first inning because he had a double, now thoughts of stealing second. He has 58 stolen bases. He's been caught 16 times. We told you they don't run on Anderson. The league is, however, 2 for 3 against him. Gordon immediately draws a throw and goes back on his hands and knees. Well, if you're Ramirez, you're thinking fastball, trying to get the ball to the catcher with Gordon perhaps going. However, Hanley Ramirez was jammed on a fastball in the first inning and popped it up to Mark Trumbo. So Hanley checks in, hitting .264. Anderson ready, peeking over at Gordon. Long look, still looking. Whoops. Hanley said, "That's enough. I will hang, but only so long," at the plate. Oh, what an evening. This is the precious evening where you can look out beyond the trees and the grassy knolls and see the mountains outlined clear as a mountain. Gordon drawing another throw. Southern California at the best. If it would only rain. Bottom of the 3rd. Ramirez trying to move Gordon around. Anderson hands it aside, looks in to get a sign. Works from almost the middle of the rubber. Now the right-hander deals. Hanley takes inside. 1 ball and no strikes. Anderson in his career against the Dodgers 1-1, but his earned run average over 6. He has pitched very well within the division. He is 5-2 against the National League West. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Anderson delivers. Hanley fouls it back. One of the surprises, as we pointed out, was the fact that it was Adrian Gonzalez who hit the 2-run home run, because left-handers were only hitting .201 against him. Waiting on deck is Adrian. 1 ball and 1 strike to Hanley Ramirez. Gordon, conservative lead right now. Anderson looking down the barrel, getting a sign from Gosowicz, and now throws to first again. If nothing else, trying to take a step away from Gordon. And of course, every now and then, and especially do I remember it with Maury Wills, they would make the hardest tags, not so much to get him out as to bruise him a little bit and slow him down. 1-1 the count. Gordon poised off the bag at first. The 1-1 pitch, he's not going, and it's foul back. Off speed pitch. Hanley a little out in front of it. So 1 ball and 2 strikes. Chase Anderson, out of the University of Oklahoma, the man from Norman, makes his home in Wichita Falls. Originally drafted by the Minnesota Twins twice out of high school and junior college, but instead went to the university and eventually signed with Arizona. Here's the 1-2 pitch. There goes Gordon, and it's a foul ball. And Gordon sliding into second to no avail. At that red stain of courage on his right pants leg. We talked about it before. You know, I say there he goes. Foul ball, slides, okay, goes back. Every time he slides, he's going to give up a little skin. I mean, the players can call it a strawberry, but it's a bruise, a contusion, whatever you want to call it. It's a scrape, and they pile up. And just imagine stealing 58, how many scrapes he has on his legs. The 1-2 pitch, he does not go, and Ramirez strikes out. I'd love it if Maury were Hill, because he could tell you that during his days when he stole over 100 bases, Maury actually had to go to a hypnotist to convince his head and brain to make him slide. So here comes Adrian Gonzalez. 2 out, Gordon at first, and with 2 out, you figure he might try to go. But at the same time, Gordon does have that big power behind him. Adrian with 20 home runs, 8 times he's had 20 or more, and he has 94 runs batted in. Anderson at the belt. Gordon takes his lead, draws a throw, and goes back again on his hands and knees. On deck, Matt Kemp. 2-0 Dodgers, bottom of the third. Chase Anderson, right-hander on the mound for Arizona, and the pitch off speed, down and away with the changeup. 1 ball and no strikes to Adrian Gonzalez. Chase Anderson with a record of 8-6. First year in the big leagues. Chase ready. Adrian waits. And the 1-0 pitch on the way. Anderson set. Delivers. Swung on and missed. Adrian out in front of it. 1 ball and 1 strike to Adrian Gonzalez. Giants won this afternoon, so the Dodgers must win to remain 2 in front. Gonzalez coming off a great August. He hit .337 in August. He hit the same batting average back in April. Takes a little low. So 1-2 the count. Slowed down in May and June. Picked back up in July. Big August. And right now in September, hitting .278. With 2 out, you kind of expect Gordon to go. He tried once with Ramirez, not with Gonzalez. Anderson ready, high set, and he backs off the rubber. 2 down in the third. Gonzalez a 2-run home run in the first, and that's it. Of course, it in capital letters also. Arizona had the bases loaded and nobody out in the second inning. Reimold struck out, Gosowich lined out, Anderson struck out, and Ryu was out of the jam. 1-2, there goes Gordon. Off-speed pitch off the plate. Good throw, and got him. And I tell you what about Gosowich, he got a changeup. It was not a fastball. It's an ideal pitch to run on. Mattingly might ask for a review. We'll see. But that was a fine play by Tuffy Gosowich. Not the catcher's delight to get a speedster on a changeup, but he got it. So now Wallach wants to make sure that he got him. He'll check with the Dodgers video man, find out whether it's worthwhile to have an official review or not. So time will be out for the moment. Meanwhile, Mattingly exchanging pleasantries with second base umpire Mark Carlson. Now Ting hangs up. We'll watch him. Thumbs down. In other words, forget it, Skip. Don't bother. And with all of that, the inning is over, and it's 2-0 Dodgers. Dodger baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought driven by Jack in the Box. Try Jack's Spicy Chicken Club combo at Jack in the Box with fries and a drink while it lasts. Fourth inning here at Dodger Stadium, sunset time in Southern California. Another glorious ending to another lovely day. Hyun-Jin Ryu getting ready to pitch to Mark Trumbo, Aaron Hill, and Cody Ross. Trumbo doubled in the second inning to right field. Ball one. Mark, of course, made his mark with the Angels. He's a big fella, 6'4", 230. Born in Anaheim. Lives in Orange. Went to Villa Park High School. Ground ball to short. Hanley is there. So Trumbo taps out, one down. So that's 7 in a row for Hyun-Jin Ryu after he loaded the bases, remember, with nobody out in the second inning.
Aaron Hill.
And the batter, Aaron Hill. Aaron Hill singled to right field in the second inning. Aaron takes a strike. We mentioned earlier when he was a kid in Visalia, he would try to get as many autographs of the players in the California League as he possibly could get. And then he adds up. That's why now that I'm playing, I will do everything I can every night to give as many autographs as possible. Check swing, but they're going to call him a strike. 1-2. Aaron Hill was selected by the Angels in the 7th round out of high school. He wanted to go on to LSU. He was eventually a first-round pick by the Blue Jays, and he was with the Jays from 05 through 11, so just about 7 years. Ground ball wide at third. Uribe is on it. Throws up dark over there. 2 down. 8 in a row retired by Hyun-Jin Ryu. And the batter is Cody Ross. Cody Ross walked in the second inning. Cody's one of those guys who really broke in with a bang. His first major league home run was a grand slam, and he did it for the Dodgers. Fastball strike. In fact, Cody joined Darryl Strawberry as the only players in Dodger history to hit a grand slam and a 3-run home run in the same game. That's going to go foul. Cody's a smart man. They asked him about what that day meant to him, and he said, "Second greatest day of my life after my wedding." I have to say that, I guess. All right, Cody. That's fine. Interesting thing, and this is an amazing story going back to 2009, and involves Hanley Ramirez. No pitch. Cody started the year in a terrible slump. He was hitting 115. That's with the Marlins. And his teammate Hanley Ramirez gave him an empty can of chewing tobacco to put in his back pocket for good luck. In the next at bat, the empty Skol can was hit by a fastball. His following at bat, he broke out of the slump, drove in his first run, and he could say Skol, which was the name of the stuff he was putting in his mouth, but it was empty. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2-0 Dodgers, top of the 4th. And another foul ball. Cody was once described as saying ever since he was a kid, his eyes were open, his ears were open, and his mouth was closed. Cody's a baseball player, not flashy, not going to capture headlines, but he is a grinder. 1-2. Fastball, slow roller to short. There's Hanley. So that'll do it. It also means 9 in a row retired by Hyun-Jin Ryu after loading the bases with nobody out. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 2-0 Dodgers. Big lift in the first inning. Adrian Gonzalez connects for his 20th home run of the year. 94 RBIs. The bubble machine was working hard, as were his teammates congratulating him. So Adrian gives the Dodgers a 2-0 lead, and he'll be leading off with Matt Kemp and Carl Crawford behind him. Gonzalez we were talking about, and then Gordon was thrown out trying to steal. Coming off a great August, hitting .278 in September, and all in all having a wonderful year. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 3 hits for Arizona. Off speed, great pitch, great pitch. That arm action and everything, you'd almost bet the house that was going to be a fastball, and it was anything but. High fly ball, very playable. Ross coming over, Inciarte, the center fielder, but Cody makes the catch, and we have 1 down here in the 4th inning. You know, each week you can go beyond the dugout into the Dodger clubhouse, and you can join Alana Rizzo as she goes one-on-one with Don Mattingly to get the inside scoop from the Diamond. So be sure not to miss Dodger Clubhouse. That'll be Monday at 5 on Sportsnet LA. Matt Kemp would appear to have found himself after the break. Before the All-Star break, he was hitting .269. After the break, he's hit .314. He also has a 12-game hitting streak and takes a strike. Matt singled to extend the streak in the first inning, and then had either forgotten that there were 2 outs, maybe he thought there were 2 outs and was only 1, and he was doubled up on a fly ball to right. 1 ball and 1 strike. Matt, before the All-Star break, had 8 home runs, and after 10, 1-1. That tied him up low and inside. 2-1 to count. Tricky fastball. 2-0 Dodgers, bottom of the fourth. Chase Anderson trying to keep the Dodgers down. And that's lifted to right field, but Ross's glove is waiting. So 2 down here in the fourth. Remember the note we gave you at the very start of the game? Arizona, 9 starters consecutively have allowed 3 runs or less in 9 straight games. Kirk sent out the left-hander Nuno last night. He gave up only 2, and they still lost 2-1. So now Anderson has given up 2, and here's Carl Crawford. High slicing fly ball going foul and back into the crowd. Reimold over to take a look, and that's all. 0-1. Giants won today, in case you were not aware of it. With 2 out in the first inning, they had 5 straight hits. They were able to overcome Miguel Cabrera, who hit 2 home runs. Martinez hit 1. There's a broken bat ground ball. Trumbo will feed his man coming over, and Anderson just did step on the bag. So broken bat, down go the Dodgers, and at the end of 4, 2-0 Dodgers. Are you trying to steal golf balls out of here by hiding them in your cheeks? Well, let me tell you one thing. You're not going to get away with it. And you can't throw a spitter either. I don't care how cute you are. Well, what's ahead for the Dodgers besides pleasant little children in the stands? Well, one more game with Arizona tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Then here comes Bud Black and his Padres, who play the Dodgers so tough. Yes, the Dodgers have won 10 of 16, but everyone is push and shove with the Padres Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then the Dodgers go to the collision in San Francisco. Foul ball off the bat of Nolan Reimold. 0-1 the count. There you can see Giants having won. Dodger lead for the moment, 1.5. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers win, the lead goes back to 2. Dodgers lose, the lead would drop to 1. Remember, the Giants, by winning today, have won 9 of the last 11. You wonder what happened to the 5-game Dodger lead. 1-2. While the Giants were winning 9 of 11, the Dodgers had lost 4 out of 6. 1-2 to Nolan Reimold, then Gosowicz, and then Anderson. Reimold, big man. He's 6'4", 206 pounds, out of Pennsylvania, Greenville, PA, and originally drafted by the Orioles. And got him on the inside corner at the knees, and Reimold goes down, striking out a second time. So that's 5 strikeouts now for Hyun-Jin Ryu. More than that, he's now retired 10 in a row since he allowed the bases loaded with nobody out. Suddenly, all the pieces fell into place. So 10 straight, he has 5 strikeouts. And here's Tuffy, who lined out to left field. That was that nice sliding catch by Crawford. This time he lines it to right, and Kemp's going to have to run it down. Gosowich on his way into second base, and he is standing with the double.
Pitcher number 57.
So that breaks it. After 10 straight, it's Gosowich who doubles. The batter will be Chase Anderson. Talking about Chase, that's what Matt Kemp had to do. Go to the visiting bullpen gate. And by that time, Duffy standing quietly at second base. He has 6 doubles, 1 home run. 1 out. Anderson trying to at least get him over to third. Dodger corners are up. Big swing and a foul. 0-1. Anderson has made 58 pitches. Interesting thing about Chase Anderson. We were talking about how he pitches first time through the lineup, second time through the lineup, and the third time through the lineup. 0-2. First time 228. The second time 282. Well, he is almost through the Dodger lineup a second time. Uribe, Peterson, Ellis, and Ryu will make it 2 times around. Third time around, the opposition is hitting .307 against him. So we will see. Chase Anderson, good young pitcher, 8-6. Tries to hit that. Just did get a little of it. Chase is 26 years old. He'll be 27 the day after my birthday. 1-2. And fouled away. Gosowich at second. 1 out here in the 5th inning. Ryu leading 2-0. And the fastball missed at 91. 2-2 the count. Hyun-Jin Ryu trying to win his 15th tonight against 6 losses. 2-0 this year against Arizona. 3-2 lifetime. Off speed and fouled away. So Anderson is making him work. Anderson coming a long way to get to the big leagues. Ryu really had a rocky road when you realize that Hyun-Jin Ryu had a Tommy John surgery in high school. Fastball got him. Yeah, he just drilled him at 92. 6 strikeouts for Ryu. Holding is Gosowich. And coming up, Ender Inciarte, who has singled and grounded out. Fastball down the pipe at the knees, and that'll do it for Craig Chase. Inciarte checking in 1 for 2. 3 home runs. Good outfielder, very, very good arm. Playing center field tonight. Dodgers trying to make it 14 out of 18 against Arizona. Fastball inside, ball 1. 1-0. roller to the right side. That'll be that. So no runs, 1 hit. Gosewicz left at second base. And at the end of 4.5 innings, 2-0 Dodgers. Kershaw threw the first no-hitter of his career. To honor that achievement, there'll be a commemorative pin giveaway to the first 40,000 fans at Dodger Stadium when they open a 3-game set with the Giants Monday, September 22nd. And of course, you remember that 22 is the uniform number of Clayton Kershaw. And the pins will be given out, compliments of 76. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Anderson ready to go the second time around to Uribe, Peterson, and Ellis. The trio 0 for 3 the first time that they saw him. Meanwhile, as far as pitches are concerned, Ryu in 5 innings has made 80 pitches. That would be 16 pitches an inning. Uribe flied to left in the second inning. On the corner, 0-1. Slow breaking ball, 1 ball and 1 strike. Chase Anderson with a record of 8-6, 1-1 against the Dodgers. Sinking fastball. 1-2 the count. Scott Barry saw the swing. Big swing and a miss. So Uribe strikes out. He's not a strikeout swinger. He's only struck out 69 times. So down he goes. 5 strikeouts for Chase Anderson. Now Jock Peterson's another story. He is just learning the ropes, learning his way. He's at 10 at bats, and he has struck out 6 times. Missing for ball 1 with the fastball. High slicing foul ball. That'll go back into the stands. 1 ball and 1 strike to Jock Peterson. Jock out of Palo Alto. Only 22. Been playing professionally since 2010. That missed. 2-1. He was not a first-round pick. He got here in such a hurry, put up such great numbers in the minors, you might think so. But he was an 11th round pick. Comebacker. So 2 down in the 5th inning, and the batter A.J. Ellis. The one thing the Dodgers have to worry about, although perhaps he is not that kind of a player, but you know, you bring a kid up who's had a great year, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and then you worry we're going to break his spirit up here. Dodgers certainly hope not. 2 out, 5th inning, and A.J. Ellis. A.J. struck out in the 2nd inning, called out on strikes. Oh, and 1. Anderson certainly negotiating the 2nd time through the lineup better than in his young career. Fastball hit down to Pennington. Cliff takes plenty of time. He's got it with Ellis. And down they go. That's 7 in a row retired. Anderson walks a tough 5 innings, 2-0 Dodgers. Well, came up with his 7th shutout against the St. Louis Cardinals that tied a rookie record, and the next time out he had another shutout to break the record for rookies. 8 shutouts, in fact 8 shutouts of his 13 victories. And you know how Fernando began the year? 8-0, 5 shutouts, and an earned run average of 0.50. Indeed, there was a very good reason for Fernando mania. Let's go back to this one. Ah, yes, there's my man with Jaime Jarrín and Pepe Inigay. Nancy B is playing Singing in the Rain, and I love her for that. I would think of all the movies I have ever seen in my entire life, if I could have one scene before I leave this mortal coil, it would be Gene Kelly in that one magnificent scene, Singing in the Rain. Wow. I could look at that every day of my life. But I'm looking at a good ball game. Here's Cliff Pennington, and that's a strike. Pennington doesn't want to hear about strikes. Struck out in the 1st inning, struck out in the 3rd. He does have 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, hitting in the 250s. Switch hitter, batting right-handed, but as a switch hitter, he has a home run from each side. 2-0 Dodgers, top of the 6th. Off the plate, 2-1. Hyun-Jin Ryu got in trouble in the 2nd inning. Bases loaded, nobody out, and he then proceeded to retire 10 in a row without allowing a run. Then he gave up a 1-out double to Gossowicz and got the next 2 outs. But now he has Pennington, Owings, and Trumbo, the heart of the lineup. But what a difference. How frustrating it must be for Kirk Gibson not to have Paul Goldschmidt. Ground ball, Gordon on the grass, full turn, throws him out. Nice play by D. 1 down. Chris Owings, the second baseman, 0 for 2 as we take a second look. In the hole, but Gordon was on the rim and gets him easily. So D turns into play, and now Chris Owings. Chris had all the marks. Rookie of the Year, most valuable player in the Coast League. 2-0 the count. Last year when he came up, he played in 20 games. That's all. Spent almost the entire year at Reno in the Coast League. So he's really just beginning his career. And notice, he's hitting 3rd in the lineup. 2-1 the count. When he was in the Coast League, he led the league in hits, runs scored, and for good measure, total bases. Fouled away. Two balls and 2 strikes. Curveball and a beauty. Whoa. It wasn't as high an arch as, let's say, Clayton Kershaw, but it was worth a second look. Look at this. Up there and bingo. It was 74 miles an hour. The perfect kind of a breaking ball to tie up the hitter. 7 strikeouts for Hyun-Jin. And here's Mark Trumbo. Doubled and grounded to short. 0-1. Trumbo trying to provide all the sock that Paul Goldschmidt provided, but Goldie went down 1st of August, and with him went the team. For Mark Trumbo, he had his own physical problems. He had a right foot stress fracture. So he was out from the middle of April to the middle of July. And down he goes. That's 8 strikeouts for Hyun-Jin Ryu. And at the end of 5.5 innings, 2-0 Dodgers. Of the 6th inning. Now, don't forget, tomorrow, Dodgers and D-backs and 110, and be one of the first 50,000 fans in attendance and receive your own A.J. Ellis bobblehead. For tickets and more information, visit Dodgers.com/bobblehead. A.J., chance to cool off, sitting alongside of Rick Honeycutt and Adrian Gonzalez. Meanwhile, Craig Anderson will now pitch to Hyun-Jin Ryu to start things off. You know, a major league first occurred at Cincinnati last night. Yeah, the Mets got home runs from a rookie catcher, Trans D'Arno. They also got a rookie shortstop, Wilmer Flores, and a rookie second baseman, Dilson Herrera. They routed the Reds. So D'Arno, Flores, and Herrera all hit home runs. That was rare indeed. Ground ball to short. Pennington, 1 out. The Mets are the first team in Major League history to have a home run from rookies at these 3 positions in the same game. Catcher, short, second base. Travis D'Arno, Wilmer Flores, and Dilson Herrera. Big night for the Mets in Cincinnati. Here's Gordon. D doubled and singled. Thrown out trying to steal. Trotted home on the wings of the home run by Adrian Gonzalez. Anderson now is unraveling a string. He's retired 8 in a row. Off speed for a strike. Chase Anderson gave up a 2-run home run to a left-hand hitter. That's news. And so far, that's it. Last night, remember, Matt Kemp hit a home run, gave the Dodgers a total of 2 runs, and they got 1 hit after that. Well, Matt homered, Kemp singled. Dodgers with 1 more hit after the first inning. And strike 3 to Gordon. So Chase Anderson is doing very well. He has a half a dozen strikeouts. Outside of that first inning slip, he's holding his own. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 4 hits for Arizona. And remember now, their starters in 9 consecutive games have allowed 3 runs or less. Here's Hanley. Popped up, struck out, 0 for 2. The man of the game on deck, Adrian Gonzalez. Fastball, broken bat, fly ball to left center, and Inciarte is there. End of story. So the bat is shattered. That's 10 in a row retired by Chase Anderson. And at the end of 6, it remains 2-0 Dodgers. Nothing in the top of the 7th, but back in the 2nd inning, he had the bases loaded against him and 1 out, and Tuffy Gosowicz, the catcher, came up and hit a line drive to left field. It looked like it was going to be a base hit and maybe score 1 or 2 runs. Instead, Carl Crawford got a good jump on the sinker, went to his knees, and made the sliding catch to bail Ryu out. So now Ryu is on the mound in the 7th inning, and he still has a shutout, 2-0, thanks to Carl Crawford. For a hungry Diamondbacks team, Aaron Hill, Cody Ross, and then Nolan Reimold. Chase Anderson, who is just flying along, retiring 10 in a row, made only 6 pitches in the 6th inning, so he's only made 75. Aaron Hill, single to right, grounded out. Aaron had a couple of big years. He's got some power. He's 5'11", 205, but he hit as many as 36 home runs for the Blue Jays, 25, and he hit 26 for the Diamondbacks. Hard hopper by the diving Uribe. So Aaron Hill opens up with a single in the 7th inning, and the batter will be Cody Ross. Hill now 2-for-3.
Cody Ross.
Uribe diving, missed by a foot or 2. And Cody Ross checking with Glenn Sherlock before checking in. Cody no longer carrying that empty can of Skol that he thinks got him out of that slump. Foul back. Jamie Wright, as always, not in the bullpen, but throwing in the bullpen. No balls and 1 strike to Cody. Fastball in a good spot. 0-2. Cody has done a lot of things, of course. He's been a pro for a long time. In fact, 5 years ago, as so often happens, he took the mound and pitched a scoreless 9th inning for the Marlins, helping out the bullpen. Gave up 1 hit to Jason Worth, now with Washington and then with Philadelphia. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Hill at first, nobody out. 7th inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Fastball low, nice block. AJ preventing a wild pitch. 2-2 the count. Cody is a rarity. I don't mean just his character or anything like that, but he bats right-handed and throws left-handed. And almost any left-handed thrower, you can sell the bank on it. If he throws left-handed, he's going to hit left-handed. Line foul. Oh, maybe not pitchers, but we're talking about position players. 2-2 to Cody Ross. Hunjin has now made exactly 100 pitches. We'll look at where he is as far as how his pitch count has gone this year. High fly ball to left field and deep. Crawford going back at the track, watching it hit the bullpen gate. Bounce back towards the infield. Scoring is Hill on a long double by Cody Ross. He almost hit it out, and there is a light breeze blowing to left field that must have favored the fly ball. So Cody bangs one off the bullpen gate to drive in a run. Tying run now in scoring position. Cody went down to get it and muscled it to drive in Hill. Watch it hit the gate. right there, high up on the gate. In fact, had it been to the left of the gate, it would have been in the seats for a home run. But it wasn't, and Ryu is still leading, but the tying run at second. He's already made 100 pitches. So we'll take a look and see. Last game he made only 84 pitches coming off the DL. His high, if you go all the way back to April when they were all strong, he made 112 pitches. Highest since then, 108 first week of August. So now here he is coming up 104. Stamina might be extremely important now. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. We were talking about Cody Ross throwing left, hitting right. 2 players that might come to mind: Ricky Henderson and Cleon Jones of the old Mets team. And ball 3. So you get the feeling maybe Ryu is losing some sharpness. Double by Ross, single by Hill. Mattingly watching and hoping after 105 pitches. Ross tying run, nobody out. He's at second. Works it away from Reinhold. Reinhold has struck out twice in the second inning and again in the 5th. In the Arizona bullpen, Oliver Perez, the left-hander, begins to loosen up, and on deck, Tuffy Gosowich. 3-2, got him. That's the 3rd time Reinhold has been out on strikes, and he and Pat Holberg are not going to get along. He looks, he pulls the knees away, but that doesn't change the strike zone. That's 9 strikeouts for Hyun-Jin Ryu, getting Reinhold 3 times. For Hyun-Jin Ryu is high in strikeouts against San Diego. He struck out 10 in the middle of July, and going way back, he struck out 9 against the Mets in May. He's backed up by Jamie Wright and the left-hander J.P. Howell. So he's leading, only 1 out. So the pen is busy, and Tuffy Gosowich, and now here comes Don Mattingly along with the Korean interpreter. So let's see. Don talking directly to the interpreter, who will now pass it along to Hyun-Jin. See the fingernails of A.J. Ellis, so you can read him when he's wigwagging the signs. A lot of head shaking. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Gosowich has hit him hard. Tuffy is 1 for 2. He lined out to left field, and then in the 5th inning, double to right. Tuffy has reached base 10 of his last 13 games on the road. Off speed for a strike. Boy, that thing, when you throw that slowly, it barely gets to the plate at 72. No balls and 1 strike. Ground ball wide to third. Up with it is Uribe. That sliding special of his to take care of Gosowich. And they lead the tying run at second base for the moment, thanks to that play. So now let's see who will bat for Chase Anderson. So a nice play by Juan Uribe. Ross advancing to third.
Your attention, please, for the Diamondbacks. Pitch hitting, number 11.
A.J. Pollock, who played center field last night. Pollock was 1 for 4. He also lined out. So Pollock will be hitting for Anderson. So Gosewicz, with any luck, could have been 3 for 3 tonight and driven in a bunch. Didn't work thanks to that sliding catch by Crawford. That's a strike to Pollock. Pollock is another fine player that they lost to the DL for quite a while. He had a fractured right hand. 1-1. He just got back September the 2nd. AJ went to Notre Dame. 1 ball and 1 strike. Line down the right field line, foul. The Pollock, whose full name is Alan Lorenz Pollock IV. First round pick by the D-backs. Shortstop in high school. Scholar athlete. He has a ton of high school awards. Also played basketball and varsity soccer. So he's an all-around solid player, and they've missed him for a good portion of the year. 2-2 the count. Pollock has only been in 55 games. So you lose Pollock, you lose Goldschmidt, you lose some pitchers. It's just been one rough year. And it turns out to be a losing year for Kirk Gibson. First losing season since 2010. 2-2 to Pollock. Ground ball to the hole, and we've got a brand new ball game. So Pollock comes off the bench and gets the base hit. Dodgers really were pushing their luck anyway. And apparently, Hyun-Jin Ryu wanted to stay in. Mattingly let him stay in. He was saved for the moment on the play by Uribe. But now Pollock gets the base hit, the run batted in. Ross scores. It's a 2-run inning, and we have a 2-2 tie. So Hyun-Jin gave it his best shot. Tired, obviously, in the 7th, and comes out. We'll go to the bullpen, and we'll be right back. Arm, and the Dodgers had only J.P. Howell in the bullpen to contend with left-handers. The Dodgers felt they could get away with it because they were as comfortable with Jamie Wright facing a left-hander as anybody on the staff. Though Jamie is called in right now, you have the left-hand hitting Inciarte and the switch hitter Cliff Pennington. Ball game is tied up. 114 pitches made by Hyun-Jin Ryu, which, coming off the DL and pitching 5 days ago, 114, that's the most pitches that he has made in any one game all year. You'd have to go all the way back to early April when everybody felt strong, and he made 112. But 114, and in the 7th inning, luck ran out. So he gave up a single, then a double for a run, strikeout, ground out on a fine play by Uribe, and then Pollock, the pinch hitter, singles to drive in the tying run. Now they have to worry about Pollock with Inciarte at the plate. And ball one. Pollock over there is certainly a threat to go. With 2 out, he has stolen 9 out of 10. So Jamie Wright will have his hands full, pitching to Inciarte and watching a rabbit over there in Pollock. One ball and no strikes. Pollock not going. Ground ball to Gordon. Makes the play over to Gonzalez, and that's it. So Inciarte grounds out. However, the D-backs get off the floor to tie it up against Ryu. Bottom of the 7th, 2-2. So we have reached the bottom of the 7th inning in a 2-2 tie. A long shadow across Dodger Stadium tonight. The knowledge that the Giants already defeated Detroit 5-4 this afternoon. So the Dodgers are tied. Should they win, they'll have a 2-game lead. And should they lose, they will have a 1-game lead. Oliver Perez out of Culiacan in Mexico signed with the San Diego Padres way back in 1999. He's 6'3", 210, 33 years old, and the youngest of 5 children. His parents, educators, and we were talking about Fernando before. Oliver, growing up in Mexico, watched and idolized Fernando. So we'll see how he goes now. Gonzalez, Kemp, and Crawford So 2 of the 3 left-hand batters. Big breaking ball off the plate. Adrian hit a 2-run home run and flied to right. Fastball fouled away. Last night, Matt Kemp homered in the 3rd inning, and the Dodgers had 1 hit for the remainder of the game. Well, Gonzalez homered in the 1st inning, and the Dodgers have had 1 hit since the 1st inning. A single by D. Gordon. 1 ball and 1 strike. Trying to sneak that fastball on the corner, and he does. 1-2. Oliver at 6'3", likes to go kind of sidearm a little bit. Certainly one of his favorites growing up, besides Fernando, was Randy Johnson. One and two. Check swing. It's going to cost him. Adrian knew it. Down he goes. So the Dodgers managed to win last night 2-1. And they're locked in 2-2 as Matt Kemp comes up. You know, it's interesting to take a look at Matt Kemp this year. As you know, he played a lot of left field. Then he moved over to center field. And now he's playing where he first played when he came to the big league, right field. What's the difference? As a left fielder, 3 home runs in 44 games. He hit .278. As a center fielder, 5 home runs in 41 games. He hit .273. Right. As a right fielder, 9 home runs in 39 games and a .322 batting average. How can you explain it? 0-1 to Matt. Fastball down, good sinking fastball. 0-2. Dodgers were fortunate that Adrian Gonzalez got the home run in the first inning, because left-handers like Oliver Perez have really shut him down. Just missed. Gonzalez against left-hand pitching has 1 home run, and he's hitting .200. Against right-handers, 19 home runs, hitting .309. 2-2, bottom of the 7th. Chased a fastball and just did get a little of it. 94 miles an hour. Perez basically fastball, slider, curveball, which is usually delivered in a slow motion, and a changeup. And the pitch high and away, high fastball after all the other pitchers were down, and down goes Matt. So 2 strikeouts for Oliver Perez, and the batter now, Carl Crawford. We talk about pitchers and how they work going through the lineup. Take Carl Crawford going up against a pitcher. First time, Crawford hitting .221. Second time, .242. And the third time, .453. The only problem is the starting pitcher is not in the game. That's a strike. Crawford had a thoroughly forgettable April, a very good May. Banged up, didn't play in July. Very poor, didn't play in June, and a poor July. That'll be the third out. Just to conclude the thought, Crawford, a good August, hit over 300, and he hit 400 in September. We're heading for the 8th in a 2-2 tie. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Subway. Get a great deal on this month's $6 foot-long special, the Italian BMT, or the $3 6-inch Select, the sweet onion chicken teriyaki. Subway, eat fresh. And by your Southern California Mazda dealers. We go to the 8th inning on a beautiful evening here in Los Angeles in a 2-2 tie. One other note now on Arizona. It means 10 straight starters have allowed 3 runs or less because Chase Anderson went 6 innings and allowed only 2 runs. It's good enough to be tied. And now it'll be Pennington, Owings, and Trumbo in the 8th inning. And ball 1. Nice bit of relief for the left-hander Oliver Perez. Struck out 2, made only 11 pitches. Dodger bullpen Brian Wilson has been throwing down there. 1 ball, no strikes. Pennington struck out in the 1st inning, struck out in the 3rd, grounded out in the 6th. All those at-bats, he was hitting right-handed against Ryu. 1-1. And a strike, 1-2. Pennington's numbers would have you believe that he's a better hitter right-handed, but most of the work is done left-handed. He sees so many right-hand pitches. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Cliff. Breaking ball. 2-2. Two runs, 7 hits for Arizona. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. And missed the outside corner. The paid attendance, and it's a whopper tonight. 50,000, 5-0, 823. So the Dodgers, drawing another 50,000, are well over 3,300,000. That is a foul ball. 3-2 the count to Cliff Pennington. Tomorrow, final meeting of the year between the Dodgers and the D-backs. D-backs hungry to salvage another. They're in that mood tonight, and they're even. Dodgers have won 13 of the 17. Three and 2. Fastball fouled away. When you look at the Dodgers and their work, where they have beaten Arizona 13 times, San Diego 10 times, Colorado 9. You put them all together, and then you look at all of the other teams they played, and they're under 500 against all the other teams. That kind of comes as a shock. 3-2. And a line drive base hit. So now a tiebreaker aboard as Pennington singles to center, and the batter will be Chris Owings.
Second baseman, number 16.
Down in the bullpen for Arizona, right-hander Daniel Hudson. Two runs, 8 hits for Arizona. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Owings, Trumbo, and Hill coming up. And Mattingly, I think, ready to bring in Brian Wilson, who was throwing down there the last time we looked. So Jamie, facing Pennington, gave up the base hit, and he'll have to come out. Brian Wilson coming in, and we'll be back. Way to follow the postseason is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. You'll get at bat for your smartphone or tablet on the App Store or visit MLB.com. Brian Wilson has concluded his warm-ups. Chris Owings, the second baseman, who was 0 for 3, will be coming in, and Brian checking with his second baseman Dee Gordon before going to the mound. So Jamie Wright made 10 pitches on the heels of Ryu's 114. Last time that Wilson worked, last night he made only 5 pitches, but the game before, the marathon with Washington, he made 20. And breaking ball hit in the air high enough for Peterson to move over. Makes the catch. 1 out. So Pennington at first and Mark Trumbo coming up. Check the books about Brian Wilson. Mark Trumbo 1 for 1 in the past, batting 1,000 against him. Cody Ross, who's down in the lineup a bit, is 3 for 8 against Wilson in the past. Slider 0-1. Brian Wilson, 32 years old, born in Winchester, Massachusetts, has lived most of his life in Londonderry, New Hampshire. He was originally drafted by the Giants in 2003. He went to school at LSU. 0-1. Another slider. 0-2. Trumbo was doubled, grounded out, and struck out. Ryu struck out 9 before running out of gas. So Mark back up, no balls and 2 strikes. Pennington at first base has stolen 6 out of 7. Chased a bad ball. So Trumbo chasing sliders goes down. 2 out here in the 8th inning. Strikeout number 1 for Wilson. And the batter will be Aaron Hill.
Third baseman number 2, Aaron Hill.
So Trumbo goes down. Here's Hill, who has single to right, grounded to third, single to left. So Aaron is 2 for 3. Pennington runs well enough to have stolen 6 out of 7. Big difference between the two teams in stolen bases. Of course, there's Dee Gordon. He's the big difference. Arizona has 72 stolen bases. The high man, Inciarte, was stolen 14. Dee Gordon, of course, the high man with 58. But the Dodgers have 123 stolen bases. 50 more. And ball 2. So Bryan comes in after Pennington singled against Wright. Gets Owings on the fly ball. Strikes out Trumbo with sliders. And he's now behind to Aaron Hill. 2 balls and no strikes. Foul back. You wonder when you first see Aaron Hill, he hangs the bat over his shoulder, so it's almost pointing to the ground. But then just as the pitch is about ready to deliver, he shapes it back up. Now he'll drop it. And looks. 2-2. The visitor from Visalia, Aaron Hill, up there in the deuces are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, a 2-2 tie in the 8th. And Pennington at first. And a high fly ball to right center. Calling for it is Peterson. So a nice job. Ryan comes in, gets a 1-2-3, leaving Pennington at first. We're going to the bottom of the 8th in a 2-2 tie. Inning tonight's ball game, Adrian Gonzalez came up, and though left-handers do not hit Chase Anderson, he hit him for a 2-run home run. It wasn't enough, however. In the 7th inning, Cody Ross came up and doubled. Should have been a home run, except it hit the gate. That scored Aaron Hill. Then Pollock came off the bench, knowing that Notre Dame had won big today, and he singled in Ross to tie up the game. So we go 2-2 into the bottom of the 8th inning. Right-hander Daniel Hudson will be coming in to pitch, following Chase Anderson and then the 1 inning in relief of Oliver Perez. Daniel Hudson is 6'3", 225. 27 years old, out of Lynchburg, Virginia. Makes his home now in Chandler, Arizona. Daniel Hudson went to Old Dominion University. Had great credentials all throughout high school. He's had his problems. Torn right ulnar collateral ligament 2 years ago. Did it again last year. But here he is. Daniel Hudson. And ball 1 to Juan Uribe. Uribe tonight has flied to left, struck out, 0-4-2. There's 2 stories tonight in this game. Chopper up the middle, on the grass, but unable to make the play is Pennington. And Uribe's aboard with a base hit. So in a 2-2 tie, Juan Uribe singles up the middle, and the batter will be Jock Peterson. We'll also have a runner, Roger Bernardina, the newest Dodger, just joined them today, and Bernardina now will be running for Uribe. So Roger Bernardina running at first base for Juan Uribe. Jock Peterson coming up. 2-2 in the 8th, and on deck A.J. Ellis. We talked about a story within the story. You have two pitchers in this game right now. Each had 2 Tommy John surgeries. Daniel Hudson and Brian Wilson. Bernardina at first. Bottom of the 8th, 2-2. They're now starting to record pitchers who have had multiple ligament replacement surgery in consecutive years, believe it or not. That's ball 1. Who are they? Well, Doug Brocail, Mike Lincoln, Denny Stark, Daniel Hudson. And although Brian didn't have them consecutive years, he certainly has had 2 of them. Brian with the bat. In there for a strike. Peterson has struck out, hit back to the box. A.J. Ellis on deck. Jock looking now to see if the bunt might be in order. One ball and 1 strike. Bernardina holds, and that's low. 2-1 the count. Roger Bernardina has stolen a lot of bases in his career. As many as 40 in the minor leagues. As many as 17 in the big leagues. 2-1. Roger does not go on a fly ball to deep left field. Back goes Reimold on the track. He makes the catch at the wall. And back to first, Bernardina. Nolan Reimold, who has had a bad night with the bat. He has struck out 3 times. Makes a huge play to pick that ball off before it hits the left field wall. So Peterson came so close and no cigar. Fastball, he went down, hit it hard and away. And Reimold, and this is a great play for a guy who's never played here, reaches up and makes it. Wonderful play by the Arizona left fielder, I should say. So Peterson a long out. Justin Turner is now going to come up as we take yet another look. Reimold makes a big play. Find out just how big. Justin Turner hitting for A.J. Ellis. Andre Ethier looks like he's getting ready to come up to hit for the pitcher Wilson. And Ellis will give way to Turner. Justin hitting .322 and even better than that as a pinch hitter, .375. 2-2, bottom of the 8th, and 50,000 people enjoying a terrific ball game. What adds to it, the spice to it, the fact that the Giants won. Dodgers lose, and their lead will be 1. If they win, they'll be back to 2. Bernardina back on the bag. Chase Anderson, Oliver Perez, and now Daniel Hudson. A strike to Turner. His body language tells you he can't believe it. 0-1. On deck, Andre Ethier. Fastball, broken bat, little ground ball to third. The play to second is not in time. Bernardina flying down the line. Aaron Hill thought he could get him, and he couldn't get him. So the Dodgers get a big break what might have been with an ordinary runner of fours. Alan Trammell is on the phone. Are they going to review that play or not? We'll watch Alan's reaction to their video man. Still no word, and Andre Ethier coming up. And it's one of those can't tell, I think, in watching Trammell. Here's a look. Hill down to second, and Bernardino's already there. So the oldest thing in baseball, speed never has a slump, and Bernardino was in there. So Turner on a fielder's choice. First and second with one out, and Andre Ethier coming up. Ethier batting for Brian Wilson. Andre for the year hitting .251. He is 7 for 24 with 7 RBIs as a pinch hitter. Off speed, fly ball to right, playable. Both runners are going to tag. Ross will left-handed back to the infield, and both runners hold on a strong one hopper to the bag. So Ethier a fly ball, and the batter will be D. Gordon.
Number 9, D. Gordon.
D. Gordon doubled to right, singled, and struck out. 2 for 3. Two on, 2 out, 2-2. And ball 1. So Daniel Hudson trying to stop the Dodgers in their tracks, and D. Gordon hitting .286, trying to get a go-ahead run. Bottom of the 8th inning, 2 out. And that's in there. 1-1 to count. Turner and Bernardino taking their leads. 2-1 to count. Waiting on deck, Hanley Ramirez. Daniel Hudson, only in his second game, second inning, he had so many physical problems. Good fastball at 95. Wow, there's nothing wrong with an arm that can hit 95. So deuce is wild again. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on in a 2-2 tie. Off the rubber. $50,823 sitting on a dandy. One more time with the D-backs tomorrow afternoon at 1:10. Now ball 3. That could be a big edge, especially with Bernardino's speed at second base. Anything gets loose, a rabbit will be turned loose. Three and 2 to D. Gordon. And now a little medium. D. Gordon has only walked 30 times. And for a leadoff man who's been in 133 games, that's not much. So the runner's ready to go. 3 balls, 2 strikes. There they go. Fastball fouled away. So Bernardino back to second and back to face Turner. The inning began. Uribe got a base hit. Bernardino ran for him. Peterson a long out that pinned Reimold right up against the left field wall. Turner hit the ground ball to third, and because of Bernardino's speed, they missed the out at second. Ethier flied out, and here we go with Gordon. Runners go. Fouled away. Two runs, 8 hits for Arizona. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. For Arizona, it's another game. It's another workout. It's another chance to at least try to get a victory against the Dodgers. They've been kicked around by them all year. But for the Dodgers, this is a huge game. Runners go. Fly ball down the right field line, hooking in the corner and goes foul. So D. Gordon, a long, loud foul. 3-2 the count. So back to second goes Bernardino. Back to first goes Turner. Fastball down and in. Hit it hard and long, but foul. So they'll crank them up and try them again. Runners take a good lead. Defense can't afford to run up around them. There they go. And a ground ball up the middle. Bernardino will score. Going to third is Turner, and the Dodgers lead 3-2 on a clutch base hit by D. Gordon. For D. Gordon, by the way, his 3rd hit of the night. The killer play was the ground ball to Aaron Hill when they missed the force play at second base. So one slight mistake, and the Dodgers cash it in as Bernardino officially becomes a Dodger and brings home the tie-breaking run. And look at Gordon. All of the tension released. Talking about release, Daniel Hudson will leave, and we'll be right back. Dodgers the 3-2 lead in the 8th inning. That was quite a battle between Gordon and Daniel Hudson. It was a 9-pitch at bat, and Gordon, who just missed a double down the right field line, followed with the clutch base hit up the middle, and the Dodgers lead 3-2. Will Harris 6'4", 225, big fella who went to school at LSU. He's out of Houston, Texas. Will Harris trying to get an out here with the Dodgers leading 3-2. Justin Turner down the line from third. Gordon at first, so there's more pressure provided by D. Gordon at first. Hanley Ramirez, ball one. Hanley is popped up, struck out, flied out. 0 for 3. Ramirez batting .263. And a drive down the left field line. That is going to be a base hit. Battle around. In comes Turner. Here comes Gordon on a double by Hanley. And the Dodgers have some breathing room. They lead 5-2. So Harris gives up the hit. The runs are charged to Daniel Hudson, who has now been charged with 3. What was a 2-2 tie is now 5-2 Dodgers in the 8th. Breaking ball. Hanley went down to get it and pulled it into the left field corner. Reimold trying to catch up to it, but no chance. The ball looked like it was touched by a fan. And we will see now what that does to the runners. Kirk Gibson came out. That's such a thoughtless thing to do. Yeah, you drop it now, but you touched it. So the ball should be dead immediately, and that might take a run off the board. So we'll see how they decide. See if D. Gordon is sent back to third. So Gordon awaits the decision. The umpires are going to take a look. Definitely the fan touched the ball. No two ways about that. Imagine if this is and the crowd groaning at the thoughtless maneuver by that fan. Every day before every game they tell you please don't interfere with the ball in play. And then people just fed. See what's going to happen. I hope they take the man out, but we'll see. There are 2 ushers that have gone down to the first row. So while the umpires are looking, we'll see what they're going to do. They are asking the fan to leave. And there's a round of applause as the fan walks up the aisle, and that's that. But there's so much at stake. Why would you want to get involved with the ball in play? And he'd probably say, I just wasn't thinking. All right. What do you say, Laz? Laz Diaz wearing the headphones. "5-2 maybe. Might be 4-2. All depends on whether they allow Gordon to score or send him back to third. Big at bat for D. 9 pitches and a base hit to drive in a tiebreaker. All right. It looks like the umpires, well, let's see, are they sending Ramirez back to second? Arizona is questioning Laz Diaz. D. Gordon is still in the dugout. Kirk Gibson wants to make sure what they're going to do. Hanley's at second. And what about Gordon? Now, here comes Kirk. They're talking about, I think he's talking about first base. I think he wants Hanley Ramirez to be back at first. And Laz saying when the fan touched the ball, Ramirez was entitled to second base. I was just wondering if they were going to send Gordon back to third, but it doesn't look that way. So Gordon can sit down, take a seat, relax, have a high five or a fist bump, and it's 5-2. I think Turner was looking for muscle or maybe a big heart. That's part of that gesture for sure. So the Dodgers then lead 5-2. Ramirez is at second base. Gordon is in the dugout. And here's Adrian. A 2-run home run, flied to right and struck out, facing Will Harris. 3 runs charged to Hudson. It is 5-2 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th. They will take the bat right out of Gonzalez's hands. They'll walk him, and Matt Kemp will be coming up. By the way, it's been such a well-pitched game. This intentional walk is the first walk of the night. Dodgers, meanwhile, gave up 1 walk to Cody Ross, and this one intentionally given. So in a moment, ball 4, there'll be 2 on. Matt Kemp, 1-for-3, ready to come up. Will Harris getting ready to face him. We'll check the books and see. Will Harris and Matt Kemp. Kemp 0 for 2. Nothing to be gained there.
27, Matt Kemp.
When Arizona comes up in the 9th, they are due to have Ross, Reimold, and Gosowich. But right now it's the bottom of the 8th. 2 on, 2 out, 3 in. Fouled away. Good fastball down, 0-1. Basically, as a reliever, Will has 2 pitches, fastball and a curveball. Will Harris had Tommy John surgery. Incredible, isn't it? 0-1. And line drive speared at second base by Chris Owings. So Kemp drills it, and instead it's the last out. But it was a 9-pitch at bat by D. Gordon that opened up the gates. And we're heading to the 9th, 5-2 Dodgers. Some breathing room, leading 5-2 in the 9th inning. Kenley Jansen coming out of the bullpen. Dodgers make a couple of changes. Justin Turner is now at third base. Uribe comes out. Miguel Rojas is at shortstop. Hanley Ramirez comes out. Drew Butera will take over behind the plate. And that means A.J. Ellis comes out, and the pitcher, Kenley Jansen.
Justin Turner.
Kenley Jansen in his 61st game. He's had 40 saves, and the Dodgers continue to look to him. ERA of 3.1, and he'll be facing Cody Ross. Cody Ross tonight walked, grounded out, doubled. His double, remember, hit the top of the bullpen gate. Otherwise, instead of scoring 2, they might have scored more in the 7th. Went for a double, and they still scored 2. A strike. 5 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 8 hits, and no errors for the D-backs. Dodgers trying to beat Arizona 14 out of 18. 0-2. Don Mattingly knows the importance of the game. They either hold a 2-game lead or drop to 1. Giants won today. Giants have won 9 of 11 to come on strong. 1-2. So Cody Ross, then the left fielder who has struck out 3 times but made that wonderful catch on the ball hit by Jock Peterson. Reimold on deck. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And a fly ball to center. Peterson is there. 1 out in the 9th. Nolan Reimold coming up. For Kenley Jansen, he's had 40, and you look at most saves in the season, he certainly has a chance to pass Shaw, Worrell, and Gagne at 45. After that, we'll see. Fastball strike. Reimold, a newcomer to Arizona. 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts, and 7 straight. And now he's in a hole 0-2. Not a good feeling to be striking out, and then you get in that bat against another pitcher you've never seen, Kenley Jansen. Remember, he's Baltimore and Toronto, and promptly lines one down the left field line. That'll go to the box seats. Over to get it is Crawford, and Reimold make contact and doubles into the left field corner.
Catcher number 9.
So the double by Hanley Ramirez has given the Dodgers breathing room. Gordon got him a go-ahead run, but it was very tight. And then when Ramirez doubled, he picked up 2, and the Dodgers lead by 3. Gosewich has lined out to left. That's when Crawford made that sliding catch. Then he doubled to right, and then he lost a hit on the play by Uribe. So he could have been 3 for 3. Jake Lamb, young third baseman, is out on deck. Tuffy hitting .221. Lamb loosening up. Gosewich, 1 home run, 6 RBIs, the backup catcher for Miguel Montero. 1-1. Dodgers have 5 runs on 7 hits. Arizona has 2 runs on 9 hits. 1 home run in the game by Adrian Gonzalez way back in the first inning. 1-1. Line foul. 50,823 here tonight. On a beautiful evening. It was 86 degrees when the game started. Reimold at second, 1 out. Gosowicz trying to pick him up. Tuffy, a chopper up the middle. Short hop by Gordon to get him. Wow. D. Gordon makes a great play, preventing Reimold from scoring. Boy, D's the man of the night, isn't he? That looks like a base hit. Had it not hit the side of the mound, I think it would have been a base hit. So Tuffy's been hitting in tough luck all night. So 2 down. And here is Jake Lamb. Look at this backhand short hop, then plant the foot and make the play. For Gosowicz, all he can think of, he could have been 4 for 4. Ball 1 to Lamb. Jake Lamb just starting out. He had a double last night, went 1 for 3. Two and 0. Jake Lamb is from Seattle, Washington. Went to the university. They signed him 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and here he is in the big leagues. 2-0 to young Jake. And a fly ball to deep center. Peterson going back, now turned. That's it. In the 9th inning for Arizona, no runs, 1 hit, 1 left. So the Dodgers have now beaten Arizona 2 in a row in the series and 14 out of 18. And certainly the big moment was with D. Gordon at the plate in the 8th inning. The game was tied. Gordon, for 8 pitches, was battling, and on the 9th pitch, singled up the middle. That scored Roger Bernardino, the newest Dodger, gave him a 3-2 lead. Yeah, beat your heart. You've got a lot to have heart to hang in there for 9 pitches and drive in the winning run. And then, of course, Hanley Ramirez hit the big double, and that was the icing on the cake. Well, that's game 2. Dodgers still lead by 2. Hope you'll be with us, maybe out here tomorrow if you can. If not, we'll talk to you then. Until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.